The smart city? Yeah,
The seminar is his responsibility.
Oh, his responsibility.
Invite only distinguished people. Only distinguished people.
Just before I wanted to send the reminder, you always email me before. Like, you don't forget. Like, I have it on my
Really? Just my personality gives things to chance. Yeah. So after the seminar, if Samuel can take to the
Dean's office.
then I have a meeting, a short meeting.
Okay.
Then I'll come to
You pick me up from
Dean's
Dean's
office.
office. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Great. Thank you. So you met everybody now?
Pardon?
You met all the
No,
Yeah.
who I don't think he meant.
Shauria has gone to get my boarding pass.
Good. The young people have to help the senior people. No, he's a good guy. I think Go will come.
No. Basically,
Who is that?
he wanted to come at 2
Oh,
o'clock.
meaning faculty they didn't meet.
Okay, yeah, one guy.
Yeah, no, he wanted to come, but because you went to the hotel, he couldn't come.
Oh, okay,
So he was
okay.
able to come. So I told him come after the seminar. So he'll come talk to you. So we'll walk with him.
You can work together.
Yeah.
Networks.
Oh, he's a network guy.
Yes.
You see this.
You see,
That's why I hired him. Is it enough, Purdue? Let's move.
Go west. Go west, young man. Okay. So when did Chris Hendrickson, when did he come? Last year?
No, this
It must be because
January.
the report was not.
January 25th.
The report was not published until. Oh, good. God.
man, good man.
Hey, that's good. 24. That's good. Southwest. Yeah.
Who will take you there? Sorry, you're good?
Thank you.
Oh, good man. Right, so yeah, he came in January.
Yes, that I topped at PRB because he had to do a couple of presentations. Same thing. That's a committee. Yeah.
So that is.
Yeah.
So
that's
Walter Go,
okay.
our colleague.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. My name is Walter.
So this is the 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Who's missing? Zaki 7, and Haifi.
Hello.
Haifi is in air pollution. New faculty. So good young energy.
A lot of
Yeah, a lot of energy. I can't believe that 5 years ago I was the junior transportation faculty. 5 years ago, I was the junior one. I was the most junior transportation faculty. So they hired me, and for 20 years, no transportation.
Yeah,
unit.
because
I
I
felt
think
me
it was before you.
Before me, yes. Then I came, and then everything stopped. So I feel good now.
Well, you're doing very well.
The whole team here, that's great.
Good afternoon, everybody. Coming to the Future City Seminar Series. We are extremely honored today to have Professor Kumares Sinha from Purdue University as a speaker. Again, in the transportation field, Professor Sinha is one of the forefathers of starting the field, and many reputed faculty in the US and across the country are his students. Even some famous politicians, there are Egypt's former Prime Minister, Thailand's Prime Minister are also his former Prime Minister, are his former PhD students. So again, I don't want to waste any time. I'll let him talk about the presentation.
I don't want to put him on the spot. Professor Radwan was my friend at Purdue.
I was a student too.
And not Thailand's Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister. So, for proper disclosure. But Egypt's Prime Minister, yes, my former student. Okay, what I'm going to talk about today is smart mobility. I expected more undergraduate students. This talk is for mostly for undergraduate students, make them interested in transportation. But maybe this will give us opportunity to maybe exchange ideas on how you feel about some of the things I'll be doing. And many of the stuff that I'll be talking about, they are my opinions and how I conjecture, how I see things coming. So with that, and at any point, if anybody has any comments or anything that you don't understand my accent, or by the way, can we turn the light a little dim? No, not completely.
It's from the.
Then we will all fall asleep.
Yes. I think that's great. Yeah, that's much better. Yes. No, that's not good.
Just a little dim. Okay, that's the best. Well, maybe this one kind of dark. Rest of them will be all right, perhaps. Okay. So, what is mobility? Mobility is movement of people and goods from time immemorial. When man came out of the cave, it had to move around. And so, the motivation, the mobility that if we look at, it hasn't changed in thousands of years. We want to go as far as we can go, as fast as we can go, and as much load as we can carry. That's the motivation, and still exists, the same thing. So think about whether that's true or not, but that's the motivation. The first man that came out of the cave, went to look for hunting and gathering, and could not go too far, and could not carry too many animals that he hunted, or he or she, I'm not sure. And then that's the whole idea. Then they try to strive for ways to bring more food at the cave or whatever the person was. So that's the motivation is still there. So load and speed and distance. Distance means in one shot, one load of one full gas tank, how far you can go, or one charging of the battery, how far you can go. That's the distance. And that's still our motivation. That's still we're doing research and striving for. And then, of course, there are today's transportation, we have direct and indirect costs. If you think about, I put everything, how come you don't have air pollution or you don't have carbon dioxide? They're all costs. May not be internal, but they're internalized, but they're costs. They're resource costs. So we minimize, right now, we do all those maximize, and we minimize the costs, direct cost, and also the costs that are not internalized. And so what is smart mobility then? Smart mobility is doing the same thing, but there is, because of the technology and other things that we have, that it can do those things in a maybe smarter way. Now also I will show you the historically things when bicycle came. It was very smart, by the way. Bicycle or motorcycle. It was very, very modern thing. People used to dress up and put things to go biking. The biking associations used to be, so that was the modern thing. So, or that's a new technology. So smart mobility use of artificial intelligence. Now artificial intelligence is also human intelligence, but that technology allows us to store it, to mimic the brain. And information communication technologies, then also social media data or information we can gather from, and other big data and data analytics tool to fulfill the motivation. Motivation remains the same. That's the objective function. It allows us to do almost real-time basis, which we could not do in the past. So that's the smart mobility is the whole philosophy behind that what we have been doing, but we will be doing in a much more real-time and faster and better. That brings to my mind this lecture series is a part of Smart City. And I gave some thought about smart cities. By the way, smart mobility is a part of the smart city system. You know, when I was a young faculty member in late 60s and early 70s, we used to do, NSF had a program, and many of us were working on how to apply the decision theoretic, the processes, the systems engineering to do things better way in public works, in the cities, how to make the cities more efficient. Did you understand? You know, optimization, simulation, figuring out things. That's the same thing, smart city. Only thing is this, at that time we did not have data. You know, you have to collect data for 3 years, then you figure out, then you do whatever you want to do. But smart city concept is that we can get the data almost real time and do things almost real time. Pothole patching we can do now in a real time. And so that's the difference. But the idea was there in late 60s and early 70s. Their books are written. I used to teach a class, and urban infrastructure systems. That's basically, we used to make decisions like how much salt to buy. A city should buy how much salt to meet the demands of the winter. That's a question. It's very important, not to you perhaps in Orlando, but in a place like where I was in Milwaukee at the time, and that's a very important decision to make. So those kind of things we used to do, and smart city is supposed to do same kind of things in a much more with the data and much more real time. So I wanted to point that out. At any point somebody does not agree with what I'm saying, don't hesitate or don't be afraid, because some of the senior guys are sitting there to challenge me. I want you to challenge me. I want you to challenge me and ask me questions that I may not be able to answer, but at least I want to hear from you. So historical development means of mobility. Well, of course, the man that came out of the cave, human power. Even today, human power is a major means of mobility. Walking. Then, of course, came the animal, allows us to go further, carry more, and faster. Then we use the wind power, and then the water. That allows us. That was the major way. People used to go from New Orleans to Cincinnati for 3 days. They would be traveling by boat. So then came the motorization, perhaps changed everything. Then first the steam engines, then electricity, automobiles, electric automobiles. Then once we found fossil fuel, everything changed. Everything changed. Petroleum came. See, 1908, the Model T, Ford, right? That made automobile affordable by middle class. And that changed the world, as a matter of fact. And a very historical observation, 2008, in India, Tata company, they started a small car, $2,500 car, Nano. Exact same words almost that Henry Ford used to declare or to announce that Nano, to make automobile affordable by middle class in India and other countries in the developing countries. So, and then of course around that time, China, by the way, I know more about China than in India even. I go to China quite often. So China, they decided, they looked at the West, particularly the United States, and feared, those guys, their economy is doing very well. How did it happen? They realized this automobile industry, and to do anything, also the highways, the transportation is the backbone. So they build roads. And that's why in this country also, in 1920s, we started to build all weather roads. And that changed this country. Then of course interstate, that absolutely, a lot of people don't realize this country was not this mobile. The economy was not so integrated until interstate system came. And China learned from that history, and they built the roads, the highways, very first thing. Okay, so highway, railroad, water, air, pipeline, all those things we have today. But I'm going to, I'm a highway person, so I'm going to bring to surface transportation, particularly highways. So I already mentioned walking, use of animals. Somewhere down the line, the wheels, that was very modern. That's the top technology at that time, the wheels. Because that way you could carry more people, more goods, go long distance and faster. And of course, when the wheel comes, because of the weight, you needed roads. Unless there is a natural stone, level, you have to build roads. Then came the road technology. And then let's see, before I go, there is a transition from past to present. I bring forward hundreds of years and 1900. So omnibus, these horses, that is to be mass transportation, old days. Then came bicycle. And again, you think it's funny. It's not. Go back to the read in a history. You'll see bicycle, how people felt freedom. That and became a very modern thing. Then, of course, automobile, that's the Henry Ford with Model T. Then the trucks. The trucks, that big, large trucks are very modern, not modern, not that many years. It's interstate system really allowed us to have heavy trucks, ubiquitous use of heavy trucks. That kind of heavy trucks. Then, of course, electric vehicles, and then today we have in connected vehicle, automated vehicles world. Now, let me tell you, the highway, the legacy of highway age. The pros are mobility, unprecedented mobility in the world. Highways have allowed unprecedented mobility. Accessibility, it has opened up countries. It has opened up the areas of the country that we couldn't even think about. And also economic prosperity. In this country, the economy, integrated economy, happened only with the interstate highways. So those are the good things. There are a lot of other things you can think of, but there are also the con side: traffic injuries, fatalities, congestion, delay, air pollution, noise, all those things, urban sprawl, public health. We all know. So issue is of this, I personally feel that our motivation to do things in a smart way, the fundamental problem is safety. That when I was a graduate student, I was telling some of the people in the morning, there used to be about 55,000 per year deaths, fatalities. I'm not talking about injuries, I'm talking about fatalities. 55,000. That's about the number of people died in Vietnam War, 7-year war. And we used to have 55,000. So there are three things involved. Those of us in the safety area, we talk about the driver, vehicle, and the roadway, right? So I think over the last 50 years, since I've been teaching, I started in 1968 teaching, we have done very good job with the vehicles. Right? Also, I think we have done quite a bit of the roadway. But what we have not been able to crack is a human being, drivers. Majority of the crashes that take place are human error related. So only way you can make driving safe is taking human out of driving or driver out of driving. And that's the reason we are in automation. Make no mistake about that. I'm not saying this thing to make Professor Abdelhadi happy because he's in safety area, but that's the truth. That's what I realize, that's the only way it can be done. But it's not going to happen overnight. So that's why we need smart mobility. We have in this country 275 million 275 million vehicles we have. More than 3 trillions of vehicle miles are traveled per year. There are about 350 to 400 billions of safety and congestion costs, and 1.5 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide. So this is the legacy of highway transportation in the United States. I'm not talking about China. Last 40 years, so it's going on, and other countries. But if you go to take out just the road safety, worldwide about 1.26 million fatalities and more than 3 million injuries per year. That's a lot of people we're killing and maiming them. In the US, we have about 40. It went down to about 32,000 fatalities one year, or 32 or 33. It started to go up with increasing speed limits. And so there about economic loss is about $900 per capita, or 1.65% of GDP. It's a lot of loss because of safety problem. In India, about 137,000 fatalities per year. China, nobody knows what it is. This is an estimate, 250,000 fatalities per year, 700 per day. In China, not to belittle China, but China is the controlled society. So the Politburo from the top will say, the province says, so many deaths last year. Hey, you cannot have more than this. This, you must try this. Then goes down to all the little counties and civil divisions, that 10, 15. Nobody going to say that what was assigned to us to do, we have not done, we have killed more people. So they will write down whatever the upper level people expect them. But somebody has done independently, hospitals to hospitals, searching data, and found that what I told you. And that's the way that system is. So from that, the estimate is about quarter million fatalities. But I must give some credit to the Chinese authorities. When they realize there is a problem, they do something. They don't put things under the rug, and they do something without making a big hoop-ta-do. So they are making a lot of efforts in the areas of pollution and safety and other things. A lot of things we can talk about. Maybe if you ask question, I'll tell you what they're doing. And crash injury is the 6th leading cause of death in India. In China, it is the leading cause of death for persons aged 15 to 44 years. Talking about India, I did some work in India some years ago, and there are somebody from Eastern UP and Eastern United Province, they call. So I reviewed several miles, I forget how many miles of the modern roads they're building, and I gathered data, and I found, I could not believe, in one section so many deaths. It's like a killing field. And first I thought must be some kind of mistakes. You cannot have so many deaths in one section of highway. I don't know, 10-mile sections, there are some incredible number of deaths. I don't know exactly what number. Then, experiencing the travel there, I realized, yes, it is possible. They're separating the directions. They put barrier in between two directions. People and they're putting roads through the villages, cities. People don't like. They don't like to travel all around to take a left turn or right turn there, to turn. So what they do, they will drive on the same direction. Where you are supposed to travel one direction, the daytime maybe you can see. In the night time you don't see. We're traveling, all of a sudden a big headlights coming, a big truck coming. I thought we will die, but apparently they know that happens. And there are a lot of other things I found that causes, those kind of things cause accidents. And they accept that as a way of life. That's the way way of life. But there are a lot of things can be talked about, the problems of doing things. If you don't think, then what mistakes you can make. So safety is a major motivation. Okay, and smart mobility also, it's not one thing. There are a lot of other things happening in the technology. There are three things happening right now. They are all converge into one time that we can think about smart mobility in a more integrated manner. Three-form transformation. Automation, of course, then also electrification. We are worried about climate change, etc., etc. So electric cars. There is a tremendous amount of research going on battery research. And if we can get a battery in a chip, the world is conquered. And then shared service. Here I will digress and tell you, about 40 years ago at Purdue, we started to think about this shared service. Shared service, may not be 40, 1980s, early 80s, that we got some money from US DOT, and Lilly Foundation gave us money between Purdue and MIT. So MIT took the money and they did future of automobile research. We did instead, we realized 80% of the travel that we make, anywhere you go, 80%, that can be done in a golf cart. We don't go too far, maybe shopping, maybe 20% is one that you need bigger car or a longer distance, etc. So we figured a lot of resources can be saved if we share. Listen, I claim we started shared transportation research at Purdue long before anybody did. But at the time, it did not come. I wrote some papers, then I look back. Geez, what did I do? I did not put the word shared. We called, and that was, who was the president at the time? Is that, I think it was Reagan was the president. So it's the Republican presidency. So we could not talk. It was like a co-op. You understand co-op that people do? So it was like a co-op. We couldn't tell co-op because that sounds like a socialist, cooperative. But we call mobility enterprise. Enterprise is a very good thing for the Republicans. It sounds private. Enterprise. So we started mobility enterprise. Actually, we brought some automobiles from Japan and also from France and Italy. The small cars at the time, didn't exist in this country because you have to pass safety, etc. Took us a lot of efforts, I remember Suzuki Alto and few other vehicles we brought, and we set up some co-ops. What it would be that you would be able to get your small car for day-to-day use. And then whenever you need a large car, we buy car not for a day-to-day use, but really the very rare uses. We take vacation. I don't know whether nowadays people go road trip or not. When I was young, I used to take my family in a road trip or take the children to the ball game and etc. So we buy car that thinking about that maximum use, but very rarely we do that. So we figured that 80% you can have a small vehicle, and then whenever you need a bigger vehicle, you can go get from the enterprise, from the mobility, and you belong to that. It was very popular. It's not that easy to set up. Maybe it's easy now because insurance and liability and all those things. So we did that at Purdue. Only Purdue people could belong, because that's the way it happened. It could be done. And we wrote some papers. So again, what happens in us, that those who do research, you don't ride your hobby horse long enough. So once that thing was done, that research was done, we wrote some papers. You can look at ASC, American Society of Civil Engineers, Journal of Transportation Engineering. You can see its title is public use of private auto, the use of mobility enterprise. That's the thinking of shared ride, how we can share. It's not the same thing as Uber or Lyft, but that's the idea. And from there came the Z cars and all those things that now you have. Well, anyway, so shared service is there. But again, I'm not convinced that everybody going to have shared service, but we'll come to that. So those three things allowing us to have the smart mobility to make it happen. And also automation. Automation, 1939, perhaps by this time it has become a cliche that GM had a Futurama in the World's Fair. And that's right here, that people are all driving through. It is not absolutely figment of imagination. When I was doing my PhD dissertation, digital simulation was about to come, or had come, digital simulation that started. So very primitive. So freeway, we used to think, I'll be able to have all punch cards. So I'll be able to have my punch cards, I'll put it as I enter in the ramp, and the machine will figure out, take me through, and get me out of the exit. That kind of dream we used to have, but using punch cards. That has almost come to being now. Do you understand? That kind of reality is coming. So anyway, recently DARPA, the competition between 2004 and 18, the challenge to come up with a car that can be autonomous. And aside that, Google has been doing testing autonomous vehicles for last, 20 years. Very under the radar, people didn't even know. But I remember seeing a television program some years ago, maybe 20 years, that Google took a vehicle across the continent, in Europe to Asia, an autonomous vehicle. So it is going on. The people are searching for how far you can go, doing those kind of things. Okay, so that's now everybody knows where the automation is, and then have the connected and automated transportation. I will not go through the reading. This is all available from the internet. But I'll tell you, the connected vehicle is upon us. We are here. It is already here. So we can use some of those things, the technology. The fully automated vehicle is not going to happen that soon. It will take some time, and it has to be exactly reliable. Not 99%. It has to be 100% reliable. So, so there are other trends that transforming transportation. We of course becoming smart, intelligent transportation. We started, then networked, all connected. I saw some of the things that Professor Abdelatif people are doing. Then pervasive computing, cloud-based data, keeping data, then electrics and the smart grid. I'll tell you one thing, this ITS, I cannot let it go, ITS. ITS, Intelligent Transportation System. In 1980s, American Society of Civil Engineers, we thought about technologies, coming technologies. So we started 1989 February, we had a conference in San Diego. That was the first ever conference in the United States on using of technologies to make transportation better. Okay? That was the applications of advanced technologies in transportation. At the end of the conference, 3-day conference, some people gathered together, the concluding session. I remember Lyle Saxton from Federal Highway, and there was Bill Schwartz or somebody, the guy from research, from General Motors, he was there, Frank Francois from AASHTO. So they were there, and they said, we must continue this thing, this idea, and bring it forward. And then that started Intelligent Vehicle Highway System Society. Then Mobility 2020 report they published, and then of course somebody said you cannot have intelligent vehicle, highway system. How about transit? We have to have transit. So we made it Intelligent Transportation System Society, and that's the ITS America that they have. But I want to point out that I want to claim that we started this use of technology long, and also I remember Chris Hendrickson was with me. He said, all these papers you collected, we better publish this. I said, no, just Xerox and distribute. We'll have to do a better job. That better job never happened, so we could not really put in the thing. We started that. And of course, now it's everywhere. So smarter mobility. Again, this is all the things that within the connecting traffic, parking, taxis, car sharing, all these things. It will take time. It's not there yet, but this will eventually, when it happens, all will be connected. Many of the decisions of parking, looking for parking, where the transit coming, seeing pedestrians, the urban areas, all will be networked. That's the smarter mobility will come. Again, we'll be able to park, finding a parking space using my cell phone and pay for the parking. All those things can be done. And some of the work you people are doing here already. So I'm leading myself to the infrastructure, roadway, so you'll see where I'm going. So there are V2V is already there. We already have V2V, and more or less reliable technology perhaps. Then V2I with the infrastructure, and then there's a lot of V2 grid, electric, and people are working. People are working how you can charge your battery on the fly. People are working, and that may happen. And then, of course, the people and bicycles and all those things will be connected. So infrastructure-wise, where you are going, roadway environment. Well, before that, these are levels of automation. You already know these things are from the Society of the Automobile. The NHTSA uses that too. Also, SAS, they use this thing, came from the automobile engineers. SAE, Society of Automotive Engineers. So we're not talking, a lot of people make a mistake. They think that we're going to have a full automation tomorrow. It's not going to happen tomorrow. We may not be there in 100 years. Okay? But we will reach to 3. Or we are already, many of these things, different levels it will be, not in a, let's get the number 1 first, then we'll go to number 2. It won't happen that way. It will be all mixed together in a phase, transition phase. We should think about the transition phase. How we're going to transition from base state to the steady state to number 5. That's our research. That we are supposed to think about how we're going to transition ourselves. This time of transition may take 30 years, may take, as I said, 100 years. We don't know how technology will develop, how fast. It has to be reliable, and people have to have confidence. And now comes the actual decision. Florida DOT, before it can make any kind of change in the roadways, what they will do? They will not do anything unless they are convinced that something will produce some benefit. Okay, before they spend any money on anything. So they have to be convinced. So our job is to figure, and that benefit will depend on market penetration, the demand. So our job is to do a very good job as estimating what the market penetration will be, modeling, like basically coming down to demand modeling. Okay, this is the transition phase from base state to the AV steady state, and how the near term, mid term, and long term, and it's not that clear way we'll have to do. Okay, let's get the near term, then we'll do it. It's not. It's all will be mixed together. So we did some work talking to the technology, the providers, the Googles, and a whole bunch of different the companies, those who are working not just automobile per se, but also some of the other things that go into automation, and about 80 of them, or 84 of them, and ask them. It's an opinion. It's not it has a lot of bias, but the opinion of those people, those who are engaged in connected and autonomous transportation, ask them what they think that what percentage of market penetration will be in how many years. And this is the picture of the composite. The orange line is the pessimistic, and the blue line is the optimistic time. And you see it goes anywhere from, say, next 10 years to 100 years. So it is not going to happen that soon. It will take time, and it will take time, not only technology developers, but also public policy, the rules, regulations, the insurance, and all those things to figure out. It will take time. But that doesn't mean we should stop doing research and figuring out. Okay, we also did, I did with Texas A&M, we did a nationwide survey of small and medium-sized cities. You know, why small and medium-sized cities? Number one, everybody is working on big cities. Nobody is thinking about small and medium-sized cities, like 450,000 population or less. And that's a 75% population of the United States live in that area. And they're entirely dependent on automobile. You know, the people for commuting, for all the things they do, they depend on automobile. So I wanted to look into how they feel, their feelings about CAV, the connected autonomous vehicles. Now again, these things may change because many people there, the rural areas and suburban areas, they in a small and medium-sized cities, their perception is based on what they read in the newspaper. Fake news or what they read. So you see that about half of them are not that comfortable of sharing the road space, knowing that there are people, the cars which are being driven by somebody, not by human being. So road sharing comfortable and driving a regular vehicle in a mixed stream traffic. So not themselves riding in a autonomous vehicle, but knowing that there are some vehicles may not have a driver, they don't feel comfortable. So it's an important thing. This kind of perception is important for us to realize. So there comes the issue of maybe when we implement autonomous transportation, then we may have to have an exclusive lane. Exclusive lane. Okay, and then next thing is the ownership versus shared service. You know, I was few weeks ago. I was in Michigan. There was some international symposium on connected autonomous vehicles, and I was in a panel discussion. There, a gentleman, I don't know, Larry Burns. He used to be vice president for research at Ford Motor Company, and he thinks that ownership is gone. Everything will be shared right. I don't believe so. He was telling, his perception that the America's love affair with automobile is over. I don't think so. You will see, it's a social thing. You will see people will brag about their autonomous vehicle as opposed to other person's autonomous vehicle. And that bragging right doesn't come from sharing or using a taxi. It doesn't. It comes from having that in your garage. So this is my personal feeling. It's not going to happen that ownership will be gone and we'll be, whenever we need to go, we'll do like this and a car will appear, will take that. So it may happen, some of the population, but not all. And that shows owning a regular vehicle or owning a driverless vehicle, that's the bulk of the people. Well, again, I must tell you, this part of the answer is there is no bias because it was done very rigorously with an industrial firm, nationwide. But it changes people's opinion and stated preference data, the response changes. So this is almost 2 years, getting year and a half old. And so it will change as the more information is available, people will change their views. Okay, that brings me, yes, Naveen?
So if the price of ownership changes,
Of course.
if the shared vehicles become half the price of owning a car.
Absolutely, that thing I forgot to mention, that the economics is the thing. You have to, we did some of these things here. Economics will decide where we'll go. But even then, today, if you look at that owning a car and doing doing your business or whatever you do, people, I don't know how many people really looking to sit down and figure out owning this costs this much, gasoline costs that much, okay, I divide by the miles, and then if I take a bus and this, that, or the time of cost, I don't think people do that.
If it becomes so cheap, they don't have to do the calculation.
Pardon?
If it becomes so cheap that you don't have to do the calculation, then people will start
Then,
changing.
yes, if that, but I don't see how it can be done. Of course, economics will drive things, absolutely drive, but still there is some sense of people's preference. Okay, infrastructure, this leads me to infrastructure preparedness framework. So public acceptance is the major thing. And then, of course, for market penetration, the consumers will decide. And then agency, infrastructure, accommodation, how we can fit. So everything boils down to market penetration. Technology, how fast it develops, regulators or the agency, or regulators, not agency, regulators like rules, laws, blah, 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 all those things we need to operate. And then also economics, as Professor Iluru pointed out, economics will determine market penetration. Also, whether you own or share, but it doesn't matter because own or share, that's another division. Combined together, automated travel, automated thing together we can combine into one, and that will market penetration include both owning and sharing. And that will then the agency like Florida DOT or Indiana DOT, they will have to figure out what the market penetration will be around what time, and it has how much benefit it will bring, and then doing a project. That's the way they do today. Demand. They estimate demand, then they estimate the benefits, and they figure out whether we do the project or not, whether we add a lane or whatever they do. I think basically they add a lane. That's all the answer to safety and congestion. Add another lane or build more roads. So any kind of adjustment that happens in infrastructure will depend on market penetration. So those of you who are listening, you think about, and if you're interested in planning or making contribution, this is an area, the ripe area for research. Demand estimation, how I can figure out what point that will be the needle will go this way or that way, that something has to be done. The agencies can change the infrastructure, retrofit the infrastructure. We're not going to dig up all our highways the way they are and do the new. It will be all accommodating, all retrofitting.
So
Yes.
So what will be the role of the private companies like Google?
Private companies are providers.
So
They will provide service. So they will still be there.
So they will be treated as the user benefits, like the profits.
No, that's a different thing. I'm talking about the users. Users means those, you and me. That's the way it is. That the agencies are there not to serve the private company. Agencies, the public agencies are to serve public. So that's the way things are done today. It will be done exactly same way. Exactly same way. The providers will provide service.
Dr. Sinha,
Yeah.
don't you think that the energy part is very important?
Yeah.
And here's my thoughts on it. When the price of gasoline went up to $4 a gallon, I remember that back in 15 years ago, people were willing to share, the right share and the concept of share. If everything becomes electrified and electric vehicles and all of that, where's it going to come from? You're going to charge. Is it going to be nuclear? Obviously not. They start thinking about nuclear because you've got 60 years of oil and that's it. What's the next generation of energy? And how sensitive the acceptability of the public of using that?
Well, these are all are piled together. Everything boils down to, as Naveen was pointing out, which I said, economics. Money, how much you have to out-of-pocket cost. So energy cost, yes, is a part of that too. So whether the energy comes from nuclear and creates electricity, or whether you drive through and then magnetometer under the freeway will charge your batteries, whatever way energy comes, cost will determine where we will go.
And the public acceptance too, I think those curves
Oh,
were very
yeah, they're all
intriguing, 100
together.
years.
Oh.
Is it one generation or two generations of people that would get us there?
100 years. 10 to 100 years. So it's not, what I'm saying, it's not going to happen overnight. It will happen over a time period, and transition phase we'll have to do research and figure out, sort out all these things that we are talking about. And then this is the infrastructure preparedness that right now we can start from the very elementary things like enhanced maintenance and operation, like the yellow lines, the edge lines, make them more visible and reflectivity, and those things we can do. Then the minimum automation that it can recognize, the pavement markings, that's the first thing they can do without disrupting the way things are. Then also there will be some redistribution of some elements. Parking is a big thing. Like somebody pointed out, 30% of the urban space is used by parking. You know, also at Texas A&M, I was there working for a while with people there. I had a whole bunch of brainstorming sessions with the DOT and the city and the private sector, etc. And all the impact on how all these things that are happening, that what kind of urban form, land use we can expect. Because this all fit together, land use and transportation, how far you travel, whether also universities and how the universities should do the master plan, 30 years master plan, how much parking they should provide. And all those things will come. And even in the automated age, automated transportation, how many people own vehicle, how many people will own or you share ride, or like this, Uber comes and I go, will determine how much, whether you need parking at home or in the university or both. And also parking will remain, may not be as much, but not exactly at my home or the destination, maybe somewhere else. So, and those things will have effect on how we respond in the urban context. So then will come the redesign of some elements like lanes. We don't need 12 feet lanes, maybe 6 feet will do. Shoulders, medians, super elevations, all have to gradually change. And so basically perhaps will be, when you are ready, we'll start with dedicated lanes. And of course you have to put cyber infrastructure, not just putting a road, lanes and signs. Yeah, cyber infrastructure will have a large cost involved with that. So this is the way going to infrastructure preparedness. The Florida DOT and Indiana DOT, they have to start thinking, when I do what around this. This is some of the examples. There are a lot of other things that can be done. Okay, because this is a smart city lecture, I had to put a slide on smart city. But smart city is not just transportation. Smart city, as I was telling you, that 50 years ago we used to think about the systems applications in public works. That's still the idea, how we can make things more with the less money, make it smart way we can do things. And there, water, is the time running out pretty soon? The water, the lot of other things that we do in the city, garbage disposal, garbage collection, water, wastewater, all those things will remain in the city operation. And transportation is one part. And that's where the smart mobility comes as a part of smart city. And this I have basically pointed out, smart city mobility solutions will be from transportation area, where ultimately the transportation related the actions that we do, the activities we do can be done using our the telephone, the smartphone. And perhaps smartphone you can also use for paying water bills and electric bills, etc. And this is existing investment opportunities that this is from internet. So this is the phased transition. This is not mine. This is from, I have all the, here I have credit where I got this, and I have permission from them that I can use them, by the way. They came to Purdue, give a lecture, Purdue Road School. This is from HDR company. It's nothing profound, but visually shows how it will be. So around 2020, we will have connected vehicle technology adoption. Those yellow lines, that the connected vehicle adoption providing any kind of opportunities there. And then 2030, maybe we'll have start to do technology, AV technology adoption. You cannot see the here that basically it will come from dedicated lens. You know, those you cannot see that because the light that will provide dedicated lens for automated vehicles and keep the traditional vehicles as they are. And then we add on as market penetration grows. We'll add on more dedicated lanes for automated vehicles. Remember, automated vehicles will not need 12-foot lane, so we can accommodate more lanes of automated vehicle with the existing right-of-way. And this is basically then eventually it will be by 2050 that AV technology adoption will be done. But this is the numbers 2050, 2030. This is this people's thinking, but it's not exactly that. But I want to show this thing that how some idea how these things will happen gradually, and the state transportation agencies will adopt this new world to their operation. That's why I wanted to show you. Now, the last thing I want to tell that those of you doing research, transition phase research areas, that you'll have to have the artificial intelligence reliability. We'll have to have absolutely 100% confidence that this thing works. So more simulation we do, physical simulation as they're doing in Michigan, or computer simulation, whatever you can do to make sure that our software, because basically it's a software, will drive correct, and that will be done by AI. So AI reliability is perhaps, I like to see our undergraduate program, even in civil engineering, teach machine learning, basics of machine learning. I personally like to see those of the people who will want to go in transportation major, they must learn this kind of things. Then data analytics, mining big data, ability to mine big data that coming with a hose and trying to drink from a hose, how to figure out what to use and what to discard. And as I've already mentioned, demand estimation, market penetration, that will be on the basis of consumer confidence, ownership versus, we'll have to separate that, and mobility as a service as becoming an area itself in research, and then the cost, both the agency and user costs. And then also, of course, impacts, the benefits, land use, energy, environment, and propulsion. Propulsion, as Professor Radhavan mentioned, that where the energy come, how would the energy, what kind of energy will drive these things. I know electrification is coming. Fossil fuels days are gone. But even with fossil fuels, you can have autonomous vehicles. You can have connected vehicles. And then infrastructure realignment, that, as I was telling, phased implementation. And then the last, the governmental policies, standardization, we need spectrum regulations, data ownership and privacy. A big thing is a cyber security, liability insurance, and the opportunity will come. Some of us who have been fighting to get road pricing now will be able to get perhaps universal road pricing, electronic road pricing, because everything will be there. So it's just a matter of charging people through smart road pricing will happen. So this where I stop, and I don't know how much time we have for questions and answers. There are some references, and the whole idea, because I am a civil engineer, so I look at these things from infrastructure. So rethinking infrastructure, how this CAV transportation will change our infrastructure, what we provide. So I thank you for your patience. Any comment, any question, depending on how much time we have.
We have time for a few questions.
I will not be offended if you criticize, challenge, or whatever. It's your decision. Yes, go ahead.
Just a small question about the comfortability when there is mixed traffic.
I must tell you, I'm handicapped hearing wise. So somebody, either you or Naveen will.
Yeah, I will try to log in. So I'm interested to know the comfortability. So
comfortability.
Yeah, when like a driver interact with the automated vehicles. How about the other way around? So it's like, for example, if I drive automated vehicles, am I comfortable to interact with the driver? I feel like if it's only the drivers afraid of interaction with automated vehicle, it's actually a good thing because people kind of tend to adopt AV like to avoid this.
So you're saying that not number 5, but maybe number 3 or number 4, where the driver is still in charge. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
And how that driver will feel knowing that traditional vehicles, they're in the street.
Yeah.
I don't think they should be that concerned because they have more control, that are more gizmos, to more facility to avoid accident. You understand?
Yeah.
So they are more protected.
Okay.
So I personally feel, but maybe there is a concern there too. But it is the other way around is the more concern because I'm not protected. I don't have something that will protect me from hitting something or But the other vehicle, which is partially automated, they have those kind of gizmos. So.
But if you're in an autonomous vehicle and you are stuck at an intersection because there is a red light, if somebody regular driver comes and hits you from the back, I don't think you'll have protection for that in an autonomous vehicle.
No, if you do, you will. If you're an automated vehicle, you will be able to know if somebody coming from behind or not.
Yeah, but if there is a car in front of you and that's not
Pardon?
moving, if there is a car in front of you, there is another autonomous vehicle in front of you, and you don't have space to move anywhere, that will still be a problem, right? Because
then your automation fell. If you're not doing good job, your AI is not doing the right thing.
I think only so much automation can do it.
Because rear end accident at intersection, signalized intersection, is a major thing. So if I'm putting together an automated vehicle to protect myself safety-wise, I better think about my rear end collision or my rear end itself.
You can't lift the car up, right? So there is a human error issue. if there are humans involved, even if you have an autonomous car, there will be crashes that you cannot control. Until the system becomes 100% autonomous, you cannot eliminate such crashes. There will be some crashes where, if there is a drunk driver, you can have a great autonomous vehicle. If he comes and knocks you from the back, you will.
See, I cannot.
No, but even then, even if you get 100% autonomy, where are the pedestrians going to walk? Right? Is the car going to interact with the pedestrian, or the pedestrian
No,
will
you
actually
detect
walk?
pedestrians. Autonomous
So
vehicles
that's
will detect
another issue.
pedestrians.
You're going to have the complete separation of the human from the automation.
Autonomous vehicles can. A pedestrian cannot damage a car. He can make a scratch on the car. Won't kill anyone.
No. If the car going 50 miles per hour, pedestrian can.
No, opposite. No, I'm talking the reverse. Exactly. The car has to detect a pedestrian.
Yeah.
The car has to detect a pedestrian.
These are some of the things you have to figure out.
But how the pedestrian reacting to the car, that's another issue. Yes, the car will protect the pedestrian. They will do the machine vision and they know that somebody's in the field. But you as a human being, are you going to react to it? My generation will not. That's why I bring the generation issue. My grandson might. He might understand the automation concept and the AI. But our generation is still conservative and they don't trust that system. And it may take a couple of generations.
You know,
That's it.
some of these things again have to be figured out because these are basic things, that. Okay, Zach, you had a question?
After the discussion, after we finish the
Pardon?
discussion,
Yeah,
we'll
because
discuss it.
Professor Sinha has an appointment with the dean
Yeah, so
in
couple of questions on that.
9 minutes. So
Okay.
we need.
Quick remark, not a question, but when you showed the slide where there is a transition phase and then steady state, my belief is there is nothing steady state here. It will be another phase change to another thing.
Absolutely, technology will not remain static.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. Technology is always evolving.
One of you here.
Yeah.
So I seem to disagree. I seem to disagree with you.